Hello and welcome back to my channel. I'm Emma Cownley, and this week we are going to talk about common mistakes made in writing that give you away as being amateur as. These are things that I pick up when I'm handed copy to proof or edit, or my favourite, when I'm handed dirty copy and asked to rewrite the whole thing. These are the things that I typically see. So I figured I would call them out and give you some ways to avoid these basic errors. So if you don't have the budget for a copywriter, you can easily just proof and edit your own stuff. So let's go. First thing that I see a lot of is absolutely no punctuation whatsoever, and my favourite use case for this is getting a 8-line paragraph which is one sentence. 8 lines, one sentence, not a comma or a full stop to be seen. That's a long ass sentence, by the way, if you didn't know. The best defense against fear of punctuation or punctuation shying is to get your copy and read it out loud. If you have to take a breath in the middle of a sentence, it's too long. You need to put a full stop in there. This could be down to 2 reasons that you're doing this. It could be because you actually aren't 100% sure on the use of commas or em dashes or semicolons or anything like that, and you'd rather just avoid it and get the words down. I've got a cure for that. You can pop along to my blog and check out some of my posts on the correct use of punctuation. People have really bad memories of it from school, just not getting it, not understanding it, and all of the rules and exceptions and stuff. It's pretty simple when you revisit it as an adult. It's really interesting to learn it. It's really basic stuff. Everyone should know how to do it, so do give that a read if you're not sure. The other thing is that you're just not rereading your work. You're just writing it down and you're like, oh yes, done it, got the words on the page, that's the job, it's all gravy, I'm done, I'm checking off, I'm tapping out. You've got to read back through that thing, and then you start to see this could be a sentence, this could be a sentence. I've actually just mushed them all into one big, long, horrible, nasty sentence with no punctuation. The second reverse of that is too much punctuation. This is incredibly disruptive for your reader. Punctuation is a way to break up a sentence or to give it intonation or pauses, and so really every time you come across something and you have to think about it, or you have to stop, or you have to break, the flow of the reading is interrupted. Some people, specifically poets, use this to their advantage, and they use it in such a way that you're forced to stop and look and think and digest in a different way. If you're writing marketing, you really don't want that. In most cases, you really don't want that. So think about making your sentences much shorter. If you've got more than 2 commas in it, perhaps you want to reevaluate the sentence and make it into 2 shorter ones. Nice short paragraphs. Try to limit the punctuation, but still make sure that you are adhering to the rules of the English language, because it's always helpful to do that. Next up on the list is writing like you speak. These are the people that just brain dump onto the page and hand it off, and that's it. Writing like you speak typically occurs when you're pushed for time, or you're not a very experienced writer and you want to just take everything out of your brain, every thought that you have, every facet of every thought that you have on one particular topic, and splash it down on the page, spew it all out, explore the same topic from various different angles just to make sure that your reader knows exactly what it is you're trying to say. It's too much. Nobody's going to read it, and it reads really badly. It reads like your diary. You've been having wonderful thoughts and just jotting them down as they arise, each different thing, and you think in your mind it makes perfect sense, but it really doesn't. And it is the dirtiest of copy to be handed for editing. It's not nice at all. The best and most effective way around this is to hand your copy to somebody else. They don't even have to be a copywriter, just somebody else who's not afraid to tell you when you have written something in a really shit way. get them to have a look over it, give it a read and give you feedback, and they'll tell you whether or not you've actually just done verbal diarrhea on the page or if you're actually making sense. Next one, following on from writing like you speak, is writing too much copy. This is a typical trait of the people that write like they speak and that don't use enough punctuation. They want to put everything on the page to make sure that they're not misunderstood in any way and that nothing is left out. I do have to say that writers will do this for a first draft, a rough first draft that's not shown. I know that I do, and I've spoken to a fair few others where you just want to put everything down first. The difference here is that we would go back and strip it away and pare it down and refine it and get a really solid, strong idea and argument before we submit that first draft. People without writing training will typically use that as the finished thing. And I can't write enough blog posts or do enough videos on why you should not be having super long ass copy. If you're writing an article, perfect, yes, keep it long, it's beautiful. If you're writing an in-depth page on something, yes, that's perfect. That's what people are looking for when they land on that page. They want a big chunky piece to get through. They're there to read it, they love it. If it's a landing page, if it's an email, if it's a direct marketing, no, don't put everything on the page. You want brevity in this instance. So learn to edit or give it to someone else, again, who isn't scared to tell you to shut the up. The final error of writing is my absolute favourite, and I love it so much that I've written a blog post on it, and I'm probably going to do a part 2 because when I published it I had a heck of a lot of writers come to me and give even more examples of this particular error, and that is using words in the wrong context or misusing them just completely. There are 2 really cute names for this in literature. One is a malapropism from the character Mrs. Malaprop. I'm not quite sure what play it's from, but it is in a play. And the second is a Dogberryism from Dogberry in Much Ado About Nothing, I believe, by Shakespeare. And both characters completely misuse words, and that's part of the humour of that character, is that they're using words in all the wrong contexts, and smug people like me sit there and like, oh yeah, muffed it up. Nowadays everybody's doing it, so it's not that funny anymore. I still enjoy it though. Typical examples of this are affect and effect, brought and bought, compliment and compliment. And here's a new one that I've noticed recently that's cropping up more and more often, and that's generally and genuinely. I would have thought that one's quite obvious, but apparently it's not. Getting your words switched around is easily done. Easily done, especially if you're hearing other people do it, because more and more people, as I say, are doing it. It's easy to pick up bad habits. And again, the best way to get around this is to give your copy to somebody else to read over for you, preferably somebody that you do trust to be accurate. Really, you don't want to give your copy to somebody who's just as baffled by it all as you are. So hand it off, get them to look through it, give you some feedback. Feedback is a hard and bitter pill to swallow, but we've all got to do it. Writers especially, but if you're interested in staying error-free, you need to take that pill, my friend. What all of these errors and mistakes add up to is really just a general degradation of your brand. And that is to say that customer trust is at an all-time low at the moment, and mistakes all over your marketing are red flags to these guys. Inconsistencies, mistakes. If you can't even communicate your message properly, why are they going to trust you to deliver on anything that you've promised? They're probably not. Because you can't do something as simple as read and write and communicate a message properly. And if they can't understand what you're trying to say or what you want them to do, they're not going to do it. You're not going to get any conversions. And it all comes down to something as simple as using the correct word in the right place, or just using a bloody comma instead of a wall of text with absolutely no punctuation in it whatsoever. There's small things, but subconsciously, even if customers aren't actively picking up on these mistakes, they know something is wrong when they're reading it and they can't get it and they don't know why. That's the reason. If you have a question that you'd like me to answer, you can drop me a comment below or call me out on Twitter at @EJCownley, and I will help you out with some handy writing related answers. And if you are just chill and want to hang out here on YouTube, you can catch me next week, same time, same place, with more handy rockin' tips on how to be a wicked writer. Until then, ciao.